Joining me now for more on what we are witnessing across America, Valerie Jarrett. She was a senior advisor to President Obama, and she served in that role for the entirety of his term. She was also an active liaison with Black Lives Matter activists starting in 2015 as the Obama administration communicated with the protesters in the wake of those street uprisings. Valerie Jarrett, it's great to have you. I wanted to first get your reaction to what the president said, what he's tweeted, what he urged the governors to do, the threats of total domination, the calling of what he's seen on the streets of America, whatever you think of the property destruction, domestic terrorism. What does that mean? What does that do as someone who has worked in that White House?
I think it's appalling, but not surprising. I think it shows a complete lack of moral leadership and empathy for the pain that so many families across this country are feeling, people who are coming out of their homes and demonstrating peacefully and trying to encourage change. I separate that from those who are acting through violence, which of course should not be tolerated. But I think what we need from a president right now is someone who is de-escalating, who's trying to calm us, who's trying to figure out ways of bringing us together as opposed to pulling us apart. I think the photo op just outside of the White House at St. John's Church today, not only did he put peaceful demonstrators in harm's way, he put law enforcement and a Secret Service in harm's way. And for what? So he could take a photograph of him standing. When did a Bible become a prop? And so it is stunning, as I said, Chris, but not surprising. And I think we've just dropped to yet another low of nearly 4 years of lows.
As I mentioned in your introduction, you were in the White House in 2014, 2015, 2016, when there were street protests in a number of cities. And I was there in Ferguson covering them, in Baltimore, North Charleston, other places. How did you understand how a president, how a White House, how an administration should deal with people that are angry, that are very angry, and who don't think the government, whether at the state, local, or federal level, has their best interests in mind?
Well, let's talk about Ferguson and let's talk about Baltimore. So Ferguson, President Obama asked Eric Holder to go to Ferguson right in the midst of the demonstrations, meet with the demonstrators, law enforcement, community leaders, faith leaders, all together to try to figure out what they could do, number one, to quell the violence and to address the issues that the protesters raised. And out of that came an investigation that the Justice Department did. And what did they find? They found a pattern and practice of discriminatory behavior by the Ferguson police. They were giving tickets for minor infractions to raise revenue for the city of Ferguson. And it was falling on people of color. And so then with a consent decree, the Justice Department was able to go in there and force change. You look at Baltimore, I remember convening at the White House, the senators, the congressmen, community leaders, all to say, what can we do here? And so I think the first approach is you have to bring people together. You have to talk with elected officials and community activists and leaders and demonstrators and say, what is the solution? What is the way to move forward? President Obama created a task force made up of demonstrators and law enforcement and faith leaders and experts. What's the rule? What should the rules of the road be? Number one, when you first hire and train police officers, how do you work with the community to establish issues like how you use force, whether you require de-escalation as opposed to escalation? And what do you do when there is an incident? Should you have an independent investigator, which is what our study concluded? Should you have transparency so people in the community understand what's going on? Is there a fair and honest and just way of investigating police violence? And that's why we recommended separate prosecutors. Do you build trust with the community? And there are examples around the country where that is happening, and there are glaring examples around the country where that is not. And right now, Chris, this Justice Department does not do pattern and practice investigations. They are not cooperating and adding resources at the local level. All of that was cut when President Trump was elected. And so, in a sense, the Justice Department is sitting toothless to be constructively helpful. And so all they can do is bring in more violence and more military, and none of that is going to actually make life safer for Black people in our country who are feeling under siege. And this is not just the death of George Floyd, which was a travesty. And watching your interview earlier with his brother, I found myself fighting back the tears. But it is generations of George Floyd that have come to the hands violence from the people who have sworn to protect and serve. And many of those folks are going out and putting themselves in harm's way without adequate training, without any sort of manual on how they're supposed to behave. And it's beginning to look like the Wild West. So there is so much we could do to be constructive. And unfortunately, there is just a moral leadership vacuum coming out of the White House.